103. Bird flu virus this February of 2025 may be on the verge of exploding out of the worst afflicted United States, not to mention scores of other countries, into millions to billions of humans. It's already bombing a large number of animal species worldwide, unprecedented in bad virus history. Compare its up to 50% death rate with COVID that killed 19 million despite its 1% kill percentage. If bird flu becomes contagious to people from ingested food supply, not just viral cow milking splatters into farmers' eyes, or goes airborne, you'd better hope and pray that its death rate goes down by a factor of hundreds, or billions, not millions, could die. Since COVID's vast logical world experience and lessons, both life-saving and stupid life-trashing, here in America, for example, we should have skyrocketed public health preparation for the next deadly pandemic, not if, but when, and soon. Instead, high-level, stupid government non-leaders have neglected, indeed attacked, American and world contagion defense. 62 human bird flu infections have been reported. How many more mild eye inflammations among farm staff and symptomless infections have occurred? Thousands or millions? Who knows? Do we test people at risk? Certainly 1 out of 10,000. China alone whipped COVID by testing 500 million of 500 million repeatedly. My speeches predict that a single anti-vaccine rockhead, RFK Jr., may kill hundreds of millions of people. Failure to test, and test for bird flu, then make 8 billion vaccine doses in 90 days, could kill billions. This would be easy. Some nations already vaccinate animals against bird flu. My NPR report behind this speech was light on world pandemic readiness, but heavy on the American 100-mile-an-hour retreat since Donald Trump fanned the American COVID firestorm towards 1.2 million slaughter by withholding early intervention to get his murder blamed on Democrats before his 2020 re-election bid. He poo-pooed his own phenomenal Operation Warp Speed vaccine application until American anti-vaxxers multiplied. Then most state legislatures took wrecking balls to their public health departments. Today, Trump fired the heart of our National Institutes of Health, always the world gold standard for locating and DNA sequencing thousands of animal outbreaks and rigorously examining each for new mutations portending jump to humans' danger. Just not sufficiently during the Biden administration. As 150 million bird flu-infected American chickens were killed during the winter of 2024-25, we only worried about skyrocketing egg prices, not how much untested chicken we're eating today, not making us sick yet. Tens of millions of American cattle may be infected, often producing milk fouled dark yellow by billions of viruses when it has not been heated or pasteurized to kill all germs. Donald only invited his raw milk California company CEO pal to join his administration. to kill not viruses, but milk testing that might trim his sales to customers he actually protected, instead of risking their lives for a lousy buck. All milk really must be pasteurized until bird flu is gone. The internet and some public health departments casually remind Americans not to undercook beef and chicken, likely harboring bird flu. Ingesting those viruses may only result in stomach acid destruction. But who knows? Because state and national American research dies before begun out of labs gutted of capable staff, just in time to save us from deep state medical science and vaccine villains, and wreck 90% of coming pandemic defenses that we need 10 times more of to save most of us from possible death, depending on your view of the facts. Or, as Trump 1's press secretary conspiracy theorist recommended, alternative facts. 90% public health destruction we'll have to do until state and national Trump sycophants wipe out the remaining 10%. Who was that nutball who says only you can save the world and your family? You should tremble for your family until world virus testing and DNA sequencing expand at warp speed. Of those 62 human cases, most were nasty but survivable eye bleeding. 2 got very sick, though, and 1 died. Viruses spreading to sicken millions of human victims could rapidly evolve to become massively fatal. Frighteningly growing are the numbers of small mammal species approaching 50% bird flu death rates. Such tragedy actually slows transmission compared to how this virus behaves in other animals, sustaining less dangerous infections for lengths of time, but producing victim immune defenses so weak that masses of animals are repeatedly, quickly reinfected. Thus, animal bird flu rushes into both massive deaths and rapid world spread. Both going human could rival nuclear wars, likely impending Holocaust. We still have some of the right researchers on exactly the right jobs until Trump fires them, of course. They repeatedly DNA sequenced the virus, days apart, from bird flu's 2 sickest human victims, knowing that billions exploding in a single victim can mutate rapidly. 100% of historic and future pandemic danger, revealed by their results. Sure enough, some of each victim's viruses distinctly, suddenly altered their amino acid protein structure to become more human-to-human transmission enabled. The interviewee did not provide any information about modes of transmission, such as touch, sexual, other body fluids, or airborne, except that mutations could increase the number of modes and ease of transmission. Of the 62 human cases, an ominous few had not been exposed to animals, apparently getting it from other people. Do you recall that COVID remained among jungle animal species for years until in mere weeks infecting tens of millions of people? Then, in 30 days of airliner distribution, exploded to most nations on Earth. American and Chinese researchers very scantily, poorly studied animal spread and mutation of COVID around Africa through 2019. Exactly why authorities were not alerted to halt all research messing with this pandemic promising pathogen that probably sickened and spread from Wuhan virology lab scientists. Informed Chinese authorities should have stopped far earlier animal imports from African virus hotspots and closed the world delicacy Wuhan meat market. Not equivalent, but far worse, blind, disabled neglect to surveil and stop danger, deep into bird flu world spread, grows quickly closer to directly threatening your family. Currently, 3 million doses of a human vaccine have been made. 150 companies should be producing 1 billion doses, replacing with new versions every time the virus mutates to forms more infectious and or deadly to humans. Vaccines for significantly changed viruses could be fully created, from virus sequencing to mRNA vaccine matches, in 6 weeks total, immediately followed by world manufacture that only sufficient pharmaceutical staff and manufacturing capacity in those 150 factories could quickly complete. Animal and then human vaccine testing must not dither close to a year awaiting natural virus exposure of small fractions of test subjects. Just shoot up volunteers with the virus 1 week after the vaccine shot. Extremely early in this process, researchers will likely learn that their vaccine has protected 1,000 of every 1,000 infected from dangerous illness. Huge publicity of this early success will explode millions of challenged, deliberate disease exposure trial volunteers. For another pandemic gone airborne, killing 5 to 25% of victims, not COVID's 1%, rescue will catastrophically fail with just the over 1 year testing and manufacture of sufficient world doses. As with COVID, this would be 10 times faster than vaccine production history, just still 3 times too slow to save the world. There's your bird flu story, danger, and agenda. Amazingly, mostly revealed by one virology researcher and an NPR reporter. Now you know what must be done yesterday, next month, and next year to save your family. Problem is, you're 100% sure that this rescue will not be 1/10 of 1% accomplished, especially across state and national institutes of health murdered America. Not long ago, much more, but still very insufficiently ready to meet nuclear animal germ warfare that humanity, driving ever deeper into germ-teeming jungle, exposes our entire world to. For my public appeal that could help boom viral and explode our movement of political and legal rescue, just remember that world politics, until we sharply begin decorrupting it, 99% rescues only politicians' campaign cash, power, and careers, never us forsaken subjects and goals of assassinated constitutions. So what must we always come down to? Sue, baby! Why do you think all 103 of my long speeches are little else but courtroom not-so-briefs? I ain't a lawyer, but plenty of you are. Sue on behalf of 8 billion and your family to quickly build and fund the public health attack on bird flu to save us. Hurry! Every 30 days, we'll have a very new set of exploding in danger facts and reports. Still 1% of the information, planning, and action that the public health programs that you demand could provide. Every month that known human infections multiply, resubmit your suits until even half of 6 corrupted Supreme Court justices get scared for their own children. I just Googled, can public crisis lawsuits achieve public funding, not just policies? I got nothing. I reported to you that worldwide 1,500 lawsuits demanded government regulatory and other environmental rescue, a number succeeding, which got tax money spent for such life-saving. Can courts make Congresses spend money? For example, unless courts or mass political pressure make world Congresses redirect the $2.3 trillion weapons and war money to sky, river, ocean steam and land floodwater pipe to forests, lakes, farms, and communities, and the latest in desalination under ocean technology, your family's grossly premature death rate could approach 100%. The public health defeat of bird flu before it defeats us could be more than accomplished by 1/200th of national budgets to equip and staff every scientific, pharmaceutical, and manufacturing facility worldwide. Money for what? For my speech's attempted description of our exponentially expanded research and medical rescue. Every government and population must contribute, and I've already formatted your international public organization of commitment to court, Congress, executive, and hyperspeed treaty action. I have described the years, even decades of buildup. But this hyperspeed, deadly pandemic, unsurveilled, then untreated, could, start to finish, ruin humanity in the last half of this year. So get a hurry on, babies. Stop bird flu, and you've achieved a model exactly applicable to disarmament, anti-corruption, new water supply, and massive CO2 air vacuuming, rain restoration, all before your kids sicken, parch, starve, and explode. What will drive you? Your sweet dream and life purpose. Your growing, glowing glories, not to be killed, never again hungry, just safe, hydrated, healthy, and happy with your family, friends, and work loving and caring for all humanity that you need to come save you too. My overnight NPR monitoring offered a great example of world-saving work that would yield results commensurate with your public, political, legal, and treaty encouragement. Brad Ringison runs the Innovative Genomics Institute, which does amazing work in India to modify rice plants to survive ever-increasing droughts and floods, now close to causing mass starvation. His institute uses state-of-the-art CRISPR gene modification to redesign rice to survive on less rain and irrigation. while growing roots deep enough to keep each plant in ground and alive, while normal rice plants were ripped out and otherwise killed by floods that now will continue to periodically ravage even increasingly drought-stricken areas. I reported to you in a previous speech that regenerative farming that rotates planting to keep soil fertile has a worldwide use potential to achieve net zero CO2 human emissions by returning underground even our entire excess industrial output. Ringeison's scientists are designing crop plants that could become capable, with worldwide use, of returning much of the 500 gigatons of CO2 from the stratosphere back deep into soil and roots, where it was before several centuries of unfortunate mass CO2 emitting agriculture only added to the coal and oil burning catastrophes. In total, jacking stratosphere CO2 from great rain and temperate climate 240 parts per million to 2025's scorching, desertifying 420 parts per million, on the way to utterly life-incompatible 500 parts per million unless you stop it, honey child. Yeah, I'm an idea man and a hopelessly minor rabble-rouser. At my old man disappearing best, our true leaders will hear me, cull out my few percent useful designs, add true expertise and inspiration, and put every human angel to work making family love government law and humanity rescue. Who dat? That 1960s 5,000 scientist gathering, the Club of Rome, that knew that 60 years later uncontrolled CO2 would explode heat and rob our water and food supply, should have, but did not, hammer citizen and government duty to prevent this Holocaust with all the measures they instead believed that everyone's complacency and laziness, especially their own, would doom to failure the efforts unmade. Indeed, in 2025, the 17 small CO2 scrubber plants operating don't touch a millionth of the removal urgently needed, while our treaty must mandate massive CO2 air removal crash factory buildup. This 100-year effort will be doomed in 10 unless we, 1, water forests to prevent their death from quintupling CO2 emissions above this year's human industrial peak, and 2, jump on regenerative farming, including innovative genomics types of drought and flood resistant crops that could draw down stratosphere CO2 to drought ending normal multiples faster than even thousands of CO2 scrubber factories. And along with new huge source irrigation, prevent the world farm failure that humanity could not survive.